Hello there, so we are doing Black Order. So welcome to Teams A to Z, and we're doing, like I said, Black Order. The next tag we are doing is Avengers. Now this is going to be an interesting one because Avengers, I suppose they have a sort of a team with the Wave 1 now. So we're going to go through all the Avenger characters. That's going to be such a fun one to do. What does that mean? So it means we're not doing Avengers. Because the Avengers tag, it's just all over the place and it's not got specific teams. If you haven't watched my previous ones, I've already done A-Man's Guardians and the last one was Astonishing X-Men. Obviously we were going to do Avenger tag next, but like I'm explaining now, we're not going to. So we already have Wave 1, which will be a separate team, Shields in there, and there's all just little bits and bobs of teams in there that really we can just do separately instead of doing the whole mess of the Avenger tag, what it is today. So we're going to go straight and jump into Black Order, which unfortunately I know aren't meta team anymore, but they do have some uses still and stuff like that. All the timestamps will be below, so we're going to do like an overview of the team, what they're good at for as a team still, and then what individually they're good for as well. And then we're going to each character breaking down their T4s, what they're good for individually, as well as then their ISO 8s. That's what we plan to, as if you've not watched any of these before, you're probably going to be in for a shock of how well these are done unscripted. If that isn't proving a point, I don't know what is, but enough nattering on. Let's throw that intro and let's get straight into it. Alright guys, so here we are, Black Order. So overall, they are, in my opinion, still a very good team. Yes, they are not meta, unfortunately, anymore with, you know, the likes of Silver Surfer out, Kestrel, obviously your Infinity Watch. They can even be beaten by Symbiote Spider-Man, the Symbiotes team. So they're not, by all means, the best team going by far, but they are still a very good war offense team. I would not put them on war defense anymore because they can obviously be mirror matched and, like I just said, beaten by quite a few other things. So on defense, I just don't think they're that great. So offensively wise, they can still be used to beat a lot of teams. Like you can see a Black Bolt, Crystal, Yo-Yo with pairs with like Agent Coulson and a Kestrel, and this team can still beat that. So they are still very good in war, but unfortunately they've dropped everywhere else. Are they worth investing to now? If you're early game and have them all, of course invest in them a little bit, like you would anything. If you already have an Infinity Watch and you're choosing though between them both, you're probably better off, you know, just upgrading your Infinity Watch. No ifs or bums about that, but that's kind of like anything, but it just depends where you are in the game and stuff like that. Individually, you could still use Thanos and Ebony Maw in raids in Mystic. So they are still very good in that, especially Thanos being that raid battery he is. So even with the new Mystic team that's coming out, the new Warriors, you could even still have Thanos on that team, I think. Obviously, I think the best for that will be your 3 new Warriors, your Adam Warlock and your Silver Surfer. But if you don't have Adam Warlock, you can throw Thanos in there. And with Thanos in there with Deathpool, you will be looking at a hell of a battery pack. So you've got the energy coming off Thanos for every kill as well as Deathpool. So there's a lot of energy being flown around there. Ebony Maw obviously is good because he's got the slows and defense ups with offense downs. It is on high cooldown, so it is good to have him behind Thanos. So he does get that energy, so he can keep doing that. Otherwise, it can be quite tricky. Proxima Midnight, she's okay if I'm being honest. She's alright in DD4 and 3 she can be used. I'm pretty sure I used her on her first run. If I had to do it now though, I probably wouldn't bring her up with the likes of, you know, Silver Surfer and all the rest out. Corvus Glaive, unfortunately, he's just damage, so he isn't actually that good outside of the team. There's nowhere really to put him, and the same there goes for Cull Obsidian, kind of like Colossus and the X-Men. There's just not really any position for them outside of their team. And unfortunately, with, especially like I said, with this whole team does work a lot better as a team anyway, but most teams do. So that is pretty much your overview there of the team and where they kind of fall these days. Individually, we're going to go quickly start with Thanos, and then we'll go back into this because apparently Thanos isn't a Black Order. Interesting, I know, so let's just cut to that and then we'll skip back to here. Sorry, what I'm quickly going to do now before I go into Thanos is show you the T4s. So I had an old one. I'm going to redo most of my T4s for the teams as I go through them. So I'm going to quickly throw that up now so you can just have a quick overview of it and just see what you need to do. If you don't want me to blabber on of every single character, you can just look at your T4s there and then there you go, as well as the SOH should be on there as well. But if you want to see all my T4s, and I also do raid ones and little bits and bobs of others, and I'll be working on even more in the future, please join my, not my Discord, sorry, it's Live Pools Academy Discord, but that's the Discord I use. I don't have my own, but the link to the description the link for that will be in the description below, so you can go join it there, and to keep up to date, you'll find it in the resources and information, Joho's T4s on a budget. So anyway, enough of that. We'll now jump straight into Thanos. Alright, here we are. So we are looking at Thanos, obviously. So obviously I've maxed out Gear 15. I took him to DD4 and he did very well for me. I like him because he's obviously a tank, has his own heal with the energy bomb and creates that energy. So plus why he has taunt, unbelievable resistance. So what we'll do is we're going to, because he's got two forms, he's got his normal form and his empowered form. We're going to quickly have a look over his empowereds, which is what you're going to be using him only when he's in his full team. Obviously, as you've probably seen with the T4s, if you haven't, that was just earlier in the video, but if you have, then you have, but you want all of these either way. Even if you're not maxing out this team, it's still very good to get all these because they are helpful both in raid as well as off. He is falling off, this whole team is, unfortunately though, but that is just what we call a power creep. So, but his unlimited power is what you want first. It increases the speed bar by an extra 10%. So it goes from, he fills himself, when an enemy drops to a 50% health, he will fill his speed bar by 50%. It's 40% for each character, including himself. So it goes up to 50. So it does add up as like another 50% for the whole team with this one, and it does lower the armor by another 10% for all enemies. So it is definitely worth doing. I'm pretty sure it's the first one that I say to do. His celestial barrage is an extra 50% piercing to all targets, an extra 50% drain on primary target and secondary, but that is only for himself. It doesn't give health to everyone, it's just himself. And then it repeats the attack 2 additional times. So you still can get the 1 to 2, so there is still a chance of getting that second attack on this, so it's not as far up there in my sheet, but it is still very good to have and it guarantees it, so it is nice to obviously have that. Then time shift, I slept on this one for quite a while, but if you're doing a mirror match, this one is by all means a necessity. You cannot do this without it, so it is definitely worth getting this. And it does, so it flips basically all negative effects instead of 3, as well as you get the taunt on Cull Obsidian for 2 turns instead of 1. So overall I think that is very much worth it. His basic as well, when this first came out, nobody thought to do this because it's only 6% damage to primary target, which doesn't sound like a lot, and it goes from, I think, what is it, 70% chance, I think it is, 80% chance to 100% chance to gain counter. But because of how powerful Thanos is empowered, and he does this, I think it's at least 2 or 3 times before he even goes to his ult, so he does it quite a lot. It does a lot of damage, and that bleed then is increased as well. It is really worth doing. It is a very much overlooked move, but I definitely think worth one doing. That's his empowered, obviously, form here. So what do you get, obviously, if you're not empowered? So if you are not empowered, you get a basically you generate 2% ability energy for self or any adjacent cosmic ally. If you T4 this, it goes from a 75% chance to do that to a 100% chance, so it always does it. On raid, this is just, you have to have it. It is such a big deal, and it's so really well, like really is good. I love doing it. Obviously I use it in him, like I said, in GD4. Maybe I wouldn't now if I went back, especially if I had Warlock and things like that. But if you don't and you're going to be a while from that, build up this team. He's still really good, I think, for that purpose. But so that's what that does. You got your energy bomb then next. So you're not getting this for this one, unfortunately. It's only 30% damage for all targets. If he didn't get empowered, or you're not using him as a full team, don't do it. That's not worth it. And the same with Brutal Assault. It's only 50% damage to that target. and even Power Punch is pretty much useless. It goes from the 80% to the 100% chance to can counter, but he's a protector. If you're not using him in his power mode, you only want to do his passive. But obviously if you're going to use him in his full team, which I don't see why you wouldn't, you want to do all 4 just because obviously of what happens when he's in that empowered mode. But anyway, that's enough about Thanos. We're going to go and switch over to the actual Black Order now, because for some reason he doesn't have that tag, and we'll carry on with it. Alrighty then, so we're going to go straight to Ebony Maw. So Ebony Maw, oh, by the way, sorry, completely forgot. Hold up, wait a minute, we forgot his ISO 8. So his ISO 8, I'm pretty sure I've got him, well, I have got him as Raider, there's no precise. So Raider, you don't want him as Striker, I don't think. Yes, you get the extra attack with, if he's got a, what's it called? If they've got a vulnerable on it. But in my opinion, you just want him as Raider, because he has that basic that hits adjacents, even though his special doesn't do anything. As in it can't crit, so you can't get anything on his special. His obviously ult hits multiple targets multiple times, so there's many high chances of him critting and then getting those vulnerables put across the board. If you weren't going to have him as a Raider, I would say Skirmisher, so then it's basically guarantees who you can only put it on 1, so let's say you hit all 3, you could get 3 crits and hit all 3, but at least Skirmisher guarantees to put a vulnerable on 1, so you just aim for that target and hope they're not on the edge, because then you're wasting attack power. If you only hit 1 on the edge, it's only hitting 1 adjacent. Why if you hit 1 in one of the middle bits, you hit 3 targets, is what I'm trying to get at there. But Skirmisher, you at least get a guarantee. Plus, the really good thing about Skirmisher is if you have it maxed out, you get that extra 50% focus, which on Thanos, he hasn't got actually a high deal of focus. So his special on empowered mode, where it flips negative effects, positive effects negatives, has to pass a resistance check. That can sometimes not work. He obviously gets bonus focus from passives and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's Proximas, which we'll go over. But anyway, so that extra 50% from the Skirmisher does help. I've got my Radar. I'm not going to change it over now. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to do that. Also, Skirmisher, I think, works better when you're in raiding. So I would say overall Skirmisher might be better, but in a full team, I would say Radar. But that's here in order. That's his ISO 8. Now we're going to go back to Ebony Maw. So, Ebony Maw, Envoy of Thanos. On his T4, you gain 10% resistance, and Black Order and Thanos allies gain 10% resistance. Not worth doing. Simple as that. We're gonna get through these. Force Transfusion. It is definitely worth doing. So you do get. You pretty much all this adds is, where is it? So it basically fills the speed bar. So you get this filled speed bar for self and all allies, 5% per Black Order ally and Thanos ally. It is definitely worth it, and I'm pretty sure, so it does the fill speed bar for self, and yeah, so you just want this. You definitely do. It adds a lot to this. So the T4 itself is absolutely amazing, because obviously, like I said, it fills, especially on that full team, it fills the speed bar, and speed is key in this game. When you're playing a game where it's turn-based, you want speed. Insidious Whisper applies defense up for 2 turns instead of 1, so that also is really worth it. An extra defense turn of defense up on your allies and yourself is definitely worth having. Needle Storm I got for when I used him so much in DD3, DD4, and in raids, because he does do his basic quite a lot, especially in Dark Dimension. Especially in Dark Dimension 4, when if he's because he's legendary, you don't have that energy tank, so you do use the basic quite a bit, and it does get the extra bonus attack, and because it's bleeds, you get a little bit more damage on the bleeds and stuff like that as well. Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw. Sorry, you have him as healer. He's a healer. You just want to keep him as healer. Put him as a healer. Simple as that. Proxima Midnight. So we have Embrace the Void. Definitely worth doing. So the 3 passives by Cull, Proxima, and Corvus, definitely all worth doing. This one is a hero there between Proxima and Cull. So Cull does damage, Proxima does focus. So you could argue which one you do first, but you want to do them both really. So it makes sure she always clears stealth on her turn from the most injured enemy, and then she also gains 10% focus, and allies do. That's more for the Thanos to get his focus up, as like I said though, Skirmisher can help with that as well. And then Last Light's definitely worth doing because it increases the piercing a little bit. It's on a single target, but it's that extra 25% reduced speed bar, so having someone slowed down even more, so they get stunned, slowed and reduced speed bar by then 50% as a whole. So it means they've then got to wait longer to take their turn, they can't then take the turn because they're stunned, and then got to go all around again. Star Throw, so this is a controversial one in my eyes. People think it's really good because it buys offense down to 2 turns, which, and in most matches, in almost every match it actually is, but when it was the arena meta and you faced only other Black Orders with Thanos, that's all you did, so it was always a mirror match. And this in the mirror match is actually not what you want. So when she does this, if you have waited to do the Thanos ult special, on your turn to do it after Ebony Maw goes, she will apply 2 offense down to all your 4 of your characters, 4 of your tunes for 2 turns, at least 3 or 4, something like that. She can go around to change the 3 targets within 2 spaces, so it depends where she targets and stuff. But let's say that lands on Thanos and then he does the flip, you now gain offense up for 2 turns. That is really good for your team. Not your so it's actually detrimental to have this in mirror matches. So I never did it, and now the team isn't meta, I don't need to do it. So in my opinion, it was never one to really do, so I never did, and that's my opinion now on that one. Starless Strike, it is good because it always gets this from Corvus Glaive instead of 50%, and you clear 2 positive effects. Then Corvus Glaive obviously always clears 1, I think, on the assist. So if it's either 1 or 2, so it was good to do because it goes from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4. So that is sort of worth doing, but I've never seen it where I've really needed it. If I'm being honest, it's never been one of those clutch moments where it's like without it I would have won, or if I had it I would have won. So for me it's definitely one of those Kragan ones you do, and you want Proxima as a striker. So if she hits someone and then goes in a second attack, you clear in even more positive effects. So let's say you have her hit, then Corvus hits, then you do another hit because they had a vulnerability on. That is also why Corvus Glaive is the same striker. So if you haven't guessed, we're now doing Corvus Glaive, he is a striker. So same reason as why Proxima is a striker. Loyal Lieutenant is definitely one you want to do. So this is the one that I said is a him or her between Proxima's doing a passive first or Corvus Glaive, because Proxima's focused, he's damaged. Does exactly the same as what Proxima's does, but it does 10% damage for the whole team instead. He's just damaged, so I never did any of these. He does hit really hard, but again, when it's just damage and so low percentage, even at high levels, I just don't think any of these are worth doing, and it's the same reason I didn't do this as well. It was never really one of those ones that you had to have, otherwise, you'd lose the battle or it would make such a massive difference. It just, for me, it wasn't worth those T4s. If you've got T4s flying out your ears, go for it, Absolutely go nuts on those T4s if you want to go nuts on this team. That's why I put them on as Kragan things. So, now we're on Cull Obsidian. He is a healer, or you can have him as Fortifier. I'm much prefer him as a healer because he has got a heavy, big pool of. Does that even count as a state, like a multitude of numbers? Could be heavy. No. Anyway, so he has got a massive amount of health. So a healer obviously is percentage. So he heals for a lot more because of that. He doesn't take as many turns though, so it isn't amazing. That's why maybe Fortifier might be better. So you could argue on both. I prefer him as healer. Payback. This one you definitely, like I said, want. You get an extra 50% damage on his retaliations, but then also see this does the same as Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight's 10% to the whole team, but this is of health instead of focus or damage. So definitely want that. Hey, I haven't done that all this one. But excuse me, I did it on the last ones. So this one you do 100% 10% extra damage and 15% additional damage per death proof. Never needed it. It is real good though. When he does do it, he is quite a heavy hitter, so it is worth doing if you want to go Kragan into this team, which is why it's on there as Kragan. This one I've never seen this extra 10% healing make any difference whatsoever in any matchup. It will maybe slow you down a little bit, but it won't make you win the match. It will just slow you losing the match if you're going to lose it, or if you're going to win it, it won't make a difference either, so it's not worth doing. And same for that, it's only 50% damage. So that's it. That is the whole team. So next up, who have we got next? We have Brotherhood. So they've really fallen off, but it'd be interesting to do. Haven't done them in a while. I don't think I've ever done T4s for them as well, so best get onto that. But we'll do Brotherhood. We'll talk about the old Brotherhood, the new Brotherhood, even the Brotherhood, what some people are calling Brotherhood 3.0 with Doom. We'll even go into that a little bit. But that's it from me, folks. I hope this helped, or you just enjoyed watching me blabber on. Probably not. But hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that dislike. It doesn't really matter to me. But that's all from me, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. You stay classy, your tub.